up, book babes? Welcome to a new video, new vibes on my YouTube channel. You're always welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Keionna, for those of you who don't know. And as always, please make sure you guys are signed into YouTube to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Click the notification bell to join the notification crew and sprinkle some love on that like button to better help this channel grow. Wow, so we are finally in the second half of 2022. It has been a roller coaster ride for me, but it has been nothing short of love, happiness, and peace. So I'm really grateful for that. I hope you guys are doing well, and I hope that you guys have been reading some really good books recently, because I know I have. I have been knocking books off my TBR pile left and right. Today is going to be a collective TBR wrap-up where I show you guys all of the books that I have read at some point during the year. So if you guys are interested in hearing about all of these books, then please continue watching. First, I'm going to start with They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. This is the only book that I've read earlier last year, and then I'm going to get into the other books that I read earlier within this year. But this book I read in January of 2021, and where I am in America, it was wintertime. It was just like a really perfect vibes back then to be reading this book. This book is a young adult action fiction novel that focuses on two main characters, Mateo and Rufus. Sort of like a dystopian in a way, because the world that these guys live in is dark and grim. It's not as dark as like Gotham, but it's like slightly dark because there is this system that is in place that essentially calls you via phone to let them know that at some point within the next 24 hours they're gonna die. The crazy thing about all this is that you don't know how it's gonna happen. All you know is that it's gonna happen at some point during the day, and that there is this app that people who have gotten the call can use to find a friend to spend their last day with. My overall feelings of this book is, I think it is a good book. I really love the concept of this book. I think it is very creative and it is different, and that's really all I have to say about this book as far as how I feel about it. I feel like there's no real rhyme or reason to it. I just genuinely like the book. The two main characters, Mateo and Rufus, link up from the app, and they basically just rip and run all around their city until the inevitable happens. And it was just a really great selection for me to pick up. I'm not mad about it. I'm really glad that I read this book. There's actually a sequel to this book coming out very soon. Adam has been posting about it all over social media, so I'm really excited to read all about that book when it comes out. The second book that I have is Wild Embers by Nikita Gill, and this is a poetry book. I really love this book, and I feel like this book probably needs a lot more hype. I had followed the author Nikita Gill on Twitter, which is how I found out about her book, and I really loved her writing online, so that is why I decided to get the book. But honestly, this book exceeded my expectations. It is such a great book and I highly recommend it. I really loved her writing in this book. It is straightforward and it's not overly flowery like I feel like some poetry books tend to be sometimes. This book really does give major annotating and sticky tab vibes. The major themes of this book are heartbreak, abuse, and healing, and it does get into witchcraft just a little bit, which I'm not all that enthusiastic about, so I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads because of that. But other than that, I think that it is overall a good book that I would recommend. Personally, this book for me is really great for where I am today within my own journey. Like page for page, it was just reading me, so that's partially why I really like this book. This book provides a lot of healing for me. It was like a healing balm for my soul. It kind of deals with depression in a very spacey, astronomical, scientifical kind of way. It reminds me that I too can rise from the ashes. I don't know, it just gives me those vibes. This book is like a bright light that cuts straight through the vast expanse of darkness. I don't know, I feel like that's just how it made me feel. Nikita Gill makes use of lots of stories and fairy tales within this book. This book is very important to me, and I hope to be able to carry this book with me forever and reread it forever. Nikita Gill makes use of lots of stories and fairy tales in this book. This book is very important to me, and I hope to be able to carry this book with me and reread it for the rest of my life. I did not expect to like this book as much as I did. If you're looking for a great poetry book, 10 out of 10, recommend this poetry book for you. My only wish is that I wish I would have read this book a lot sooner. The Nowhere Girls by Amy Reed is another book that I read earlier this year / late last year. This is a contemporary novel that is set in Oregon, which was different for me because I've never read a book that was set in Oregon, and I feel like that was really unique. This story is about 3 high school girls, actually 4 high school girls, and it's sort of like the Mean Girls in a way, except only it's addressing the toxic masculinity culture at their school. This book basically covers the unnerving subjectivity of the female body according to the sexist and toxic male within the society of the book and at the high school that is called Prescott High. It's narrated by all 3 of the girls, and what happens is Grace, she's the new girl, and she basically forms an alliance with 2 other girls in the book. I forget the other girl's name. I think her name was Alex. What's her name? What is her name? Erin and Rosalina, and I really love Rosalina. I think I resonate most with Rosalina. Basically, the new girl Grace comes to the school and they all become friends. There is this deep sense of wanting justice to be served for one of their fellow students or peers that went to the school. So there is a disability rep, and there's also like different cultures representation in this book, so I really like that. I don't know why this is so random, but I just feel like this book reminds me of a group that I was in when I was in like elementary school. Me and 2 of my other girlfriends, we were like best friends, and we had this like box. It was like a small box, and we would like write little notes in it every day and fold them up and like put them in the box, and then we would like at the end of the day we would take them out and read them, and we would just like all just be laughing together. And I think somebody was like watching us and they caught on to like what we were doing, and I think they thought that we were like talking about them, which we weren't. I think it was all quite innocent, but basically somebody snitched on us and the whole thing blew up in our face, and it was just a mess. And it really just reminded me of how these girls in this book formed this alliance. And I mean, we weren't boycotting rape or anything, but it was really great to see girls coming together for the common good of other girls, and to see positive change about an issue that is greater than them all. The girls' agenda is essentially to expose this secret of this incident that took place one night at a party where another girl student was gang raped, and they hope to basically like expose the school system for their failure to protect the girls within the community. This book is the literal manifestation of rebellion that has been lying dormant within me, that came out in this book, that surrounds the topics of toxic masculinity, sexism, consent in relationships or with strangers, misogyny, all of that. I feel like if I were a character in this book or a student, I would definitely be part of the Nowhere Girls, because I'm all about protecting our girls and keeping us safe. Closing my thoughts on this book, basically the girls challenge the judicial system in their town to catch the rapists and end rape culture for good. And it was just a really great book, and I'm really happy that I read it. So the 4th book that I read is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is a contemporary novel, and when I think of contemporary novels, I think of like sophistication and meant for mature audiences, and I feel like this book definitely has all of those qualities. I'm so happy that I read this book. This is the 2nd book from this author that I have read. The 1st book was The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and that book was also really good. I feel like nobody does old school Hollywood like Taylor Jenkins Reid, but one of the distinct differences between Daisy Jones and the Six and the Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is that this book is bi-coastal, where we spend some time in California and then cross country to New York. So Daisy Jones and the Six is definitely a little bit grungier than the Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Daisy Jones and the Six is a very intoxicating and well-paced read. It was one heck of a ride, and I always felt like Taylor Jenkins Reid's novels are very well paced. This book is narrated as a recollection of past events that were pieced together that show how a rock band and an independent singer back in the 70s came together and they called themselves Daisy Jones and the Six. It's written in documentary style so as to include interviews from the actual members of the band, and I really enjoyed getting to know each member of the band. The moment that I picked this book up, I loved Daisy. I fell in love with her character initially. I just thought that she was so cool. I see myself a lot in Daisy, from the underage clubbing to the drugs and all of the freedom that her parents gave her growing up, and just the lifestyle that she grew so comfortable to living. It reminds me a lot of myself, and like it just brings me back to a lot of good times that I had, like a lot of great memories. This book sucks you in from the very beginning. It was really hard for me to put it down. I just really loved the story, as messy as it all was. Like I said, there's mention of a lot of drugs and sex, so overall it was just really a fun read for me. Taylor Jenkins Reid definitely has a way of writing fiction like it's true events, and this book definitely has that reread quality. I also always felt like Taylor Jenkins Reid puts in a lot of research into her novels, whether it is the historical context, the structure of the book, or the characters. Effort certainly does not go unnoticed here. It could be a little bit hard to follow the book at first because it is such a uniquely written book. I also think that Taylor Jenkins Reid, the author, is like really pretty, and I really enjoyed reading her book. The last book that I want to talk about is a book that I'm currently reading. It is Atomic Habits by James Clear. I am so happy to finally be reading this book. It is a phenomenal book. It is awesome. This is a self-improvement book, and you guys know I'm all about my self-improvement. This book really takes self-improvement to the next level. It's kind of about like the author's own personal experiences, and then like stories from other people's, you know, their own stories. He kind of stresses the importance of setting good habits and how we can improve the habits that we've set, and like build upon those habits to work better for us to achieve better results. This book is based on a 4-step model, and I think that this is a really great book for entrepreneurs, business owners, people, just everybody. Honestly, I think this is a really good book. I know that I'm like sort of a perfectionist, so the perfectionist in me is just like really excited to start using and applying what I'm learning in this book. This book makes use of a lot of charts and graphs. It might look like it's a little challenging to read, but honestly it's very straightforward. It's very easy to read, and I am really enjoying this book so far overall. If you guys have read this book, let me know what you guys think about Atomic Habits in the comment section down below. And yeah, let's have a nice little discussion about this book, because it is honestly, this is one of the best books that I have read this year. Those are all of the books that I read this year so far. Well, not all of them. I've read tons more. An accumulation of some of the books that I've read this year. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you watched the video to the very end, please leave me a white heart emoji in the comment section down below to let me know that you guys are here. Make sure you guys are following me on Instagram and on Twitter, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Until next time, bye.